I'm Cath. My channel is Made by Cath Craft. Thank you very much for joining me for my latest video. And this video today is a makes video. So I'm going to be chatting all about all of my recent sewing makes. And there are quite a few to chat about actually, because I realised I haven't done a makes video for quite a while. I had to look back and I think the last makes video I did was at the beginning of September. So it was quite a summery makes video. And I haven't done one since. That's like a month and a half now, I guess. And I've made quite a few things over the last month and a half, so I thought I'd better do a makes video and include everything that I've done before there ends up being too many things to include in one video. So I'm going to be talking about quite a variety of makes in this video. I've got some dresses to share, a skirt, some swimwear, a pair of shorts, so definitely a bit of a mix. So I'm looking forward to chatting them all through. As usual, I'll start the video off briefly by sharing what I'm wearing today, but I won't talk too long about it because I've got quite a few makes to cover, so I want to get started on those. But today it's quite chilly outside, so I'm wearing a cosy sweatshirt. It's a handmade sweatshirt that I made using the Jarrah sweatshirt pattern by Megan Nielsen, which is one of my favourite sweatshirt patterns. I love its kind of relaxed drop shoulder, slouchy feel. And the version I'm wearing today is the classic sweatshirt with the round neck, the cuffs and the bottom band, as you can see here. And I made it in this lovely fleece back sweatshirt fabric. Can't remember where I got this from. If I can remember after the video, I'll link down below if there's any still in stock. It's got this grid print on, and then I added on some grey ribbing because I wasn't really sure what would go with this fabric, but I quite like the combination of the sort of soft pink and the grey. So that is what I'm wearing today, but I will get started now on all of my makes, and I thought I would share these makes in order of making as much as I can remember. So I'm going to start with my earliest makes in the beginning of September and then bring the makes right up to my most recent make, which I finished this week. So yeah, let's get started. So my first make I've got to share is one that I made right at the beginning of September, which seems quite a long time away now. And it is a bit more of a summery make. So it's one I made just towards the end of the hot weather. So I haven't been able to wear this one much, but I already can't wait to get it out next year because I really love it actually. And I made it using a pattern that's a pattern I really love but hadn't made for quite a long time. And it's this pattern here, the Fringe dress pattern by Chalk and Notch. So it's a really lovely woven dress pattern. You can also make a blouse option, or I've never done the blouse option, but I'll show you the line drawings for it. It's got some really pretty details to it, this pattern, I think. I know I say that about lots of patterns, but I really do love the Fringe dress pattern. So there's two different options, and this is a version I've always made with this V-neck and button down front. It's got a gathered skirt with this sort of curved dipped hem. And then the feature I really like is these sleeves. You kind of add on these sleeve cuffs and then gather them in with these little sleeve tabs, which I think just adds a really nice detail. And it sews up really nicely, this pattern. I think it's the only pattern I've made from Chalk and Notch, but I love the instructions and I love the finish. The way the kind of button placket is finished is really nice. It just comes together really nicely. And it's got a really good size range to this pattern. It goes from size 0 up to size 30 US sizing. And there are two different cup options built into the pattern too, a B cup and a D cup. So yeah, a really nice pattern. So it's really nice to revisit it this year because I think I hadn't made a version since quite early when I started sewing. And I made a couple of versions in quick succession then, and I really enjoy getting them out. But the versions I made originally had been in double gauze style fabric. So this time round, I decided to make a fringe dress in a viscose fabric because I thought it would give a bit of a different look to it. And it's something I've been wanting to try for a while. And I thought it'd be lovely as a sort of swishy, lightweight, summery dress. And then I was lucky enough to be gifted some fabric from Minerva from their new exclusive viscose challis range. So they released a range of really funky viscose challis prints earlier this year, and I got to choose a fabric to make in exchange for a blog post that is on their website, and I'll link that blog post down below in case you fancy having a read of it. And the fabric I picked to make my fringe dress is some really fun fabric. So here is my fringe dress, so you can see the lovely fabric, and I'm glad the camera seems to be picking it up quite nicely because it's a really lovely, vibrant fabric. I think it's called Tiger Paradise, and I think that really suits the fabric because it's got this sort of lovely tropical leafy print all over it and these really pretty different green tones, and the little pops of orange from the tigers that are kind of hiding in the leaves. So really lovely prints and a few little sort of red flowers there as well that pop out. So yeah, I just really love it. I don't have a lot of green in my wardrobe, but I do like the colour green, so it's nice to make this dress, and this fabric is so lovely and soft and lightweight and drapey. It was really nice to sew with, and it just has a really lovely feel when you pop this fabric on. So this is my Fringe dress. So yeah, I made the version with a button placket, so you can see, and I went for kind of green buttons, sort of tone in with the fabric. And I've got the sleeve tabs. Oh, is that a sleeve tab? Oh, there it is. There it is there. You can see the sleeve tab there, again with the green buttons. And then here's the skirt, and I'll hold it up so you can see the dipped hem at the bottom, hopefully. And yeah, it was just really lovely to revisit the Fringe dress pattern, and I really enjoyed sewing with this viscose fabric, and I think it's a really fun summery make. I was just a bit disappointed that I made this one right at the end of the summer, so I haven't really had a chance to wear it, and I guess I could layer it up, maybe like wear a black top underneath it and some black tights over winter, but the print just feels like such a summery print that I think I'll save it for next year. In terms of sizing, I make the size 0 on the Fringe dress pattern. So that is designed for a full bust in the B cup size range, which is the one I go for, 32 inches, waist of 25 inches and hips of 35 inches. So my bust is bang on for the size 0, and my waist and hips would put me at the size 2, but because there's quite a lot of room around the waist and hips on this one, obviously the skirt's gathered, so there's loads of room there, and it's not designed to be tight fitting around the waist. I've never bothered grading out, and I think there's plenty of room and I can just pull it on over my head. So yeah, it's quite an easy one to pop on. I have made a version with waist ties, but I didn't add waist ties to this version. I just quite like it relaxed, loose fitting, really comfy to wear. So I'll pop up a picture of me wearing it so you can see what it looks like on. It's really lovely fabric. Oh, it's got pockets too as well, so it's quite a practical dress as well. And yeah, I just really enjoyed revisiting the pattern. I love this fabric, so yeah, bring on next summer so I can get this one out a little bit more. Oh, and I just realised I have one more thing to add about the Fringe dress, because I usually mention the size I chose and also if I made any adjustments. And actually I made no adjustments for this version. I often do lengthen the bodice on patterns because I have quite a long torso, but actually the Fringe dress I think is designed to sit a bit higher than your natural waist anyway, and maybe not quite an empire line, but definitely a higher waist. And I really like that look actually. I quite like how it kind of is quite loose and relaxed and does have that slightly higher waist. So I didn't make any adjustments. I made the straight size 0 and I really love how it's turned out. So the next make I've got to share is another quite summery one. And with this one, it's so summery that it felt quite funny to be sewing it in September when the weather had started to cool down, because it's a piece of swimwear. And I guess the time of year for swimwear is kind of gone now the summer's finished. But I think I probably will wear it over the winter still, because I'll be able to wear it to the local pool with my children. Although I'd rather obviously be wearing it on a lovely beach somewhere hot, but never mind. It was really nice to be able to sew with this fabric, because the fabric I used for this piece of swimwear is a remnant that I found in my fabric remnant suitcase. So I have this suitcase full of larger fabric remnants left over for my sewing projects, and I often delve in it if I need some fabric for, say, pocket bags or some bias binding or something like that. But I've been having a look through over the last few weeks and finding larger pieces of fabric that I might be able to turn into garments. And I came across this remnant of really lovely swimwear fabric, and I thought it seemed a shame for it to be sitting in the suitcase not used, and I had a look and I had just enough to squeeze a bikini out. So I was really pleased about that and decided to make the bikini up while I was in the mood, because I'm not always in the mood to sew swimwear because it's not my favourite thing always to sew. So I whipped up this bikini in this fabric, and I'll show you the fabric. It's a really, really lovely swim fabric. And it came from Sister Mintaka. It was one I asked for Christmas or birthday for my husband, because it was a bit pricey. But the lovely thing about swimwear is you don't really need too much, I find. So, and I obviously overestimated how much I needed, because I made a swimming costume in this and still had enough left over just to squeeze out this bikini. So you really don't need a great deal, I find, for swimwear. But this is the fabric. It's a really lovely swimwear fabric. It's got a black base and all these cute little scribbles on in lots of different colours, and I thought it would make really funky, fun swimwear. So yeah, I found I had just enough for this bikini set. So here is my bikini set. Here is the top. It's this little bikini with this little tie at the front. You can see the little ties here. Well, there's one. And there's the other, which you kind of tie in a little sort of bow at the front here, which is quite cute. So that's my bikini top. And then here are my bikini bottoms. They're sort of high-waisted bikini bottoms. I quite like the higher waisted look. I feel like kind of pulls in the tummy a bit, so it's quite flattering. So here's my bikini bottoms, and I used 2 different patterns, one for the top and one for the bottoms. The pattern I used for the top is this one here, which is the Vanazza 2-piece pattern by Friday Pattern Co. And I've used this pattern a couple of times before for sewing swimwear, and I think it sews up really nicely, and I do find Friday Pattern Co's instructions to be really good. So here are the line drawings. It's for this top that I've made with this little tie on the front, and then you can also make a pair of bikini bottoms, which are a little bit more lower cut. So I didn't want to use this pair for my bikini because I knew I wanted a high waist bikini bottoms, and also I find that I particularly like the cut of the leg on a different pattern, which I use the bottoms, which I'll show you in a moment. But yeah, this is the Vanazza two-piece pattern. The bikini top's fully lined, which is nice. And it's, in terms of sizing, it's not in Friday Pattern Co's full range that they're making the new patterns in. It's in a slightly smaller range, so it goes from an extra small up to a 4X, which is approximately a UK size 28. Yeah, it comes together really nicely, and yeah, this is my version. As you can see on the back, on the lining, I used a different fabric, another swimwear fabric that I had left over from another project also in my stash, because I didn't have quite enough of the Liberty fabric for the whole garment. I needed to use the Liberty fabric on the front inside pieces though, because otherwise the tie would have been two different colours, the black with scribbles on one side and the navy on the other side. So I just used the navy on the back and no one will ever see it, but it came together really nicely, and yeah, I'm really glad to have been able to squeeze out of the fabric. And then these bottoms I made using a different pattern, which is this one here. This is the Pilates swimsuit pattern by Opium. So it's actually a swimsuit pattern where you actually sew the top to the bottom, but the kind of bottom piece kind of sews up individually before you attach the top. So it's quite easy just to sort of steal the bottom pattern pieces to turn them into a pair of bikini bottoms rather than a swimsuit. But it's quite a cute swimsuit pattern too. It's got another tie at the front, quite similar to the Vanazza actually, but a bigger tie, and there's cut out section at the back, and it also sews up really nicely. This one isn't available in such a great size range, unfortunately. It goes from a size 0 to a size 10, which takes you up to approximately a UK 20. But yeah, I'd made the whole swimsuit before, and I really liked how the bottoms fit and how the leg holes are cut. So I decided to borrow those bottoms, and what I did was use those pattern pieces and then just add on a band at the top, waistband at the top. And I didn't bother adding swim elastic into my waistband, so I've got elastic around the leg holes to keep them nice and secure, but I've made swimwear with elastic in the waistband before, and I found it just cuts in a bit and isn't very comfy. So I figure since the whole thing's quite sort of tightly fitted anyway, hopefully they'll stay on nicely without the elastic, and I have found they have in the past. So yeah, there's no elastic, just a simple fabric top band there. And again, I lined the bikini bottoms with this navy fabric I had left over because I didn't have enough of the Liberty fabric for the inside, but no one will see that. So this is my swimwear, my swimsuit. I'm really happy I sewed it up. I'm looking forward to wearing it. We actually did go swimming last week, and I wore an old bikini instead because I was worried that this one might get damaged by the chlorine, and I don't know why. Maybe I'll save it for a special occasion, like if I get to go to the spa or something. I'm not sure. I'll wear it at some point. Oh, and I'll put a picture up so you can see what it looks like on. Oh, and in terms of sizing, for the top, I made the size extra small, which is designed for bust 32 to 33 inches, which is my bust size, and I find that fits nicely. Then for the bottoms, I made the size 2, and that was based on my waist and hips measurements. I think they both fell in the size 2, and again, it fits me nicely. Obviously, there's quite a lot of negative ease built in that's designed to be quite close fitting, but comfy too. So that's my swim set. Not exactly a seasonal make, but I'm glad to have used that fabric because I think it's really pretty. So the next make I've got to share is one for my daughter. It's a little t-shirt I made for her. And the reason I made this t-shirt is we were having a bit of a tidy up of her room a few weeks ago, and we came across this little iron-on patch that I think Father Christmas had brought her in her stocking a couple of years ago. And she was really taken with it when she found it. It's a kitten patch, and she's really into cats and kittens at the moment. So she really wanted it popped on to a garment of some sort so she could wear it straight away. So again, I had a look in my fabric remnant suitcase and found some fabric which was left over from some pyjamas I'd made for her quite a while ago, and found there was just enough to squeeze out a little t-shirt so we could add this patch to it. So she was very pleased. It was nice, speedy sew, and here is the little t-shirt with the patch on. I think it's really cute actually. It was really nice we managed to find this fabric in my suitcase because it's also got kittens on, so it was perfect for a little kitten patch. It's a really nice cotton jersey. This came from Minerva, and I had a look and they still have it in stock, so I'll link it down below. I think it comes in this pink colourway and also a red colourway. So I guess the red would be quite cute for kind of Christmas pyjamas actually. And it's got these little kittens on and little white spots as well. It made a really cute set of pyjamas, and she still just fits into those, so it's nice to see her wearing those still. But yeah, this is the t-shirt I made, and this is the cute little kitten patch. It was just an iron-on patch. It's kind of furry. This kitten's got a little bow, which is really cute. with little sort of spots on. So yeah, I was really pleased to make that for her, and she's really enjoyed wearing this t-shirt quite a lot already. So I made this t-shirt using a free pattern that I've used quite a lot for my son and my daughter, and it's this one here. It is the Kids ABB tee, which I think means anything but basic tee, and it's by DIBY Club, and I'll link the pattern down below. It's quite easy to download this for free. It comes in a slim and a regular fit. I always just use the regular fit because I don't think my children will want anything too close fitting, and it comes in sizes, what size come 18 months up to 12 years, so it's got a good size range on it. I made the straight size 6 for my daughter. She is 6, it fits her quite nicely. It's a really speedy sew. There's an optional patch pocket you can add, and I use the patch pocket kind of guidance on the t-shirt to kind of get an idea of where to put this little patch, so I had the patch on instead. But yeah, it's just a basic short sleeve t-shirt, a nice speedy sew, and I'll put a picture of my daughter wearing it so you can see what it looks like on. It was really nice to be able to use some fabric we already had for it, because she was quite keen when she found this patch for me to get it so it's sewed up straight away and not wait for any fabric to arrive in the post. And it's nice to be able to use up this cute little kitten jersey scrap too. So the next make I've got to share is one I made using quite a new pattern that was only released towards the end of the summer, and I had so much fun sewing this pattern up. It was a really enjoyable sew, and the pattern is this one here. It is the Sports Shorts pattern by Friday Pattern Co. It's a woven shorts pattern, has some really pretty details to it, and yeah, just a lot of fun to sew. I really actually finished my shorts and wanted to make another pair straight away, but I thought I don't really need more than one pair at this time of year, so I'll probably reach this pattern again when it comes around to summer next year and enjoy using the pattern again then. But I'll show you the line drawing so you can see all the details. Oh, and what's really cool about this pattern is Friday Pattern Co. released it for free. So if you go on their website, you can either download it for free or you can choose to contribute different amounts, so you can pay as much as you want for the pattern. So that's very cool. And the other cool thing is it's released in the full Friday Pattern Co. size range, so it goes from a extra small up to a 7X, which takes you up to a hips of 63 inches. So a really good size range, and I'll show you the line drawings. Where are they? Here they are. It's got some really nice details, these shorts. I think they've got a bit of a 70s vibe to them. They've got an elasticated waist, and you can add on an optional drawstring waistband, which you can make using bias binding. They've also got bias binding on the pockets here. And then instead of having like a hem that you finish in the round, instead you make the front and back and add bias binding and then sew them down the side to get this really cool finish. So it's quite nice actually, because when you finish the pair of shorts, you don't have to hem them at the end, because the hemming's already been done by adding the bias binding to finish them off. So you can have a lot of fun with this pattern by choosing contrasting fabrics for the main shorts and for the bias binding. I've seen lots of really lovely versions go by on Instagram where people have had a lot of fun with the choices of fabric. And the cool thing about this pattern as well is it's a really great scrap buster pattern, because you don't need a huge amount of fabric for it. So yeah, that's the Friday Sports Shorts pattern. So my pair I made because I really fancied having a pair of loungewear shorts, because we've had quite a hot summer here. Often in the evenings when it was warm, I changed out of what I'd been wearing the day and would change into a pair of pyjama shorts that I then wear to bed, but I thought it'd be nice to have some separation between my loungewear and my bedtime wear. So I thought a pair of shorts would just be perfect for that. And actually, I made this pair using some new fabrics I bought from Minerva, because actually in my remnant suitcase, I've got quite a few jersey remnants, but I don't have so many larger cotton lawn remnants. I guess maybe I've used some of them already for things like pocket bags and things, but I didn't have anything that was quite right for these shorts. So I had a little browse on the Minerva website and picked out some pretty fabric for my shorts. And here they are. I really love them actually. I really enjoyed sewing them and I really love how they've turned out. So the main fabric I've used is this really pretty floral fabric. This is an art gallery cotton poplin fabric. So I thought maybe cotton poplin might be better than cotton lawn, because it would have a bit more structure to it, to kind of hold the shape of the shorts better. I don't know. But that's what I went for. It's got this really lovely sort of blue background with these really pretty light pink flowers on it. And then I chose a sort of contrasting blue colour for the bias binding, or I've kind of gone for colour to pick out the lighter blue in the fabric. So, and this is a cotton lawn fabric. I thought lawn would be perfect for the binding, a bit more lightweight. And then I went for the main fabric on the waistband, but I went for this light blue fabric on all of the bias binding details. So yeah, I really enjoyed sewing these shorts. As I think I've mentioned, they were so much fun to sew. And all the little details on this pattern are a lot of fun to sew. There's lots of top stitching, which I really enjoy. For example, top stitching the bias binding down on the pocket, and then all around the bottom of the shorts, including around this little curve here. And I'll show you one detail I really like is how the back pattern piece is slightly longer than the front shorts piece, which I think gives a really lovely detail and really showcases that's sort of how they join at the side. I think that's a really lovely feature too. So yeah, a very enjoyable sew, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. In terms of sizing, I actually sized up one size on these shorts. My measurements would put me at a size small, but I actually sized up to a size medium because I quite like the idea of them being quite roomy and relaxed, given I was planning to wear them as loungewear. So I just sized up one size. With the waist, I guess the waist measurement is less critical anyway, because you can bring it in as much as you want using elastic. So yeah, I just went for the straight size medium, and I'm really pleased with how they turned out. They're nice and relaxed, a kind of loose fit, not too close fitting. And I'll put a picture so you can see what they look like on. So I'm really looking forward to wearing them. I haven't had much of a chance now because the weather got a bit colder after I made them, so I haven't had much of a chance to wear them, but I think they'll be great for loungewear, and I think they'd also be really nice to wear out and about too. So yeah, I really enjoyed these shorts, and I think I'll definitely be making another version at some point in the future too. Oh, and I thought I'd also mention in terms of sizing and adjustments, I made the straight size medium for these shorts without any adjustments. Actually, when I was sewing the shorts up, I did think to myself they were looking a bit too short, and I was thinking maybe I should have lengthened them slightly. But when I tried on the final shorts once they were done, I was really happy with the length, and I'm glad I didn't make any adjustments to lengthen the pattern pieces, particularly because the way you sew these shorts up, you add the bias binding to the front and back pieces before you put them together. So you can't really make an adjustment to shorten them at a late stage like you'd be able to with a classic pair of shorts where you get to the hemming at the last stage and can then take a bit of length off then. You have to kind of be fairly comfortable about the length before you start sewing these. But yeah, I'm really happy with how they turned out. They're really fun, so I definitely recommend the Friday sports shorts, and great for having a bit of fun with different fabrics too. And I'll link these fabrics down below, like I will do all the fabrics I mentioned in this video wherever possible. So the next make I've got to share was quite a speedy make, and it's a bit more of a seasonal one, and it's another one that I made using fabric remnants that I found in my fabric suitcase. It's something I've been wanting to make for a while, and it's a little beanie hat. So I've been thinking for a while it might be quite handy to have a lightweight beanie hat to wear when I'm out running in the colder weather, or if I'm going for kind of a long walk where I might get a bit overheated in like a full-on knitted hat. So I kind of wanted a bit more of a sporty hat that'd be quite practical. So I thought I'd give it a go and have a look online and see if I could find a free beanie hat pattern, because I thought there must be a few out there. So I had to look online and found quite a few, and the one I decided to go for was one using a pattern company I haven't come across before called Gina Renee Designs. I'll link their website down below. They've got sewing patterns on there, including a few free patterns and also sewing tutorials as well. And they had a pattern for what looked like quite a nice simple beanie hat that I thought was just the sort of look I wanted. And it's called the Cute Beanie Hat pattern. So this is the pattern here. It's quite easy to get it. You just sign up to their newsletter and click that you like this particular free pattern. And it's quite a simple pattern. You can either make it lined or unlined. There are also a couple of options in the pattern for adding embellishments if you want to make a prettier beanie hat. But I wanted to make something a bit more practical and simple. And I made my version, which is here, using some black cotton jersey that I had left over in my remnant suitcase. It doesn't really need a lot. I just needed to cut out 8 pattern pieces with it, this kind of funny little kind of shape. I'll show you the kind of shape. This shape here. 4 for the outside, 4 for the inside. It comes together really nicely, sews it really quickly. So here is my beanie hat. I haven't actually got any pictures of me wearing this, but I have worn it quite a lot, and it's been perfect for keeping my head warm but not like overheating when I'm wearing it. So I'll pop it on now so you can see what it looks like on. So you can see it's just a really basic beanie hat. I like the fit of it. I think I went for the size medium. You have to measure your head circumference, is that the right words? I think. And yeah, it came together nicely, and I'm happy with the sizing. So I will link the pattern below. It's just a really nice simple one. I guess you could have fun sort of playing around with different fabrics, different fabric combinations on there and everything, but I thought a plain black one will go with my running gear. Nice and simple, quick little make. So that was my next make, just a quick little beanie hat using a nice free pattern. So I guess, yeah, it's quite a frugal make, this one, using a free pattern and fabric from my stash, which is quite cool. So the next make I've got to share is another more wintry make, and I'm really looking forward to styling this one up over winter. It's made using a pattern I'd used once before and that I really liked, and I made a summery version, so I was really keen to make a winter version too. And it's a skirt I made using this pattern here, which is the Sabina skirt pattern by the Little Pomegranate. And it's another free pattern. I'll link the website down below. You just go on the website and sign up to the newsletter, and you'll automatically get emailed this free pattern. It's got a really good size range too. It goes from a UK size 6 up to a size 34. It's just a really cute skirt for woven fabrics. I'll show you the line drawing so you can see what it looks like. So it's an elasticated waist skirt with one main sort of skirt piece and then a cute little ruffle at the bottom, and it's got these little slash pockets added in, and the pockets are sewn so that you sew the pockets into the waistband, which works really well if you're sewing with a drapey fabric. So it means the pockets don't drag down, they're kind of held nicely and securely in place. And this pattern is really designed with beginners in mind, so it's really detailed instructions. They really hold your hand through the process and explain lots of sewing terminology on the way too, so it's a really nice pattern, a really nice one to sew. Yeah, I really enjoyed just kind of, being led through the pattern and not having to think about things too much, and just taking it gently. And yeah, it sewed up really nicely. So this is my wintry version, and I really love the fabric I used for this. It's a viscose challis that I got from Minerva. It was really good value. I'll link it down below. I basically knew I wanted a sort of black and white ditzy print style fabric, so I went on the Minerva website and I searched viscose challis, and I narrowed my search down to fabrics that had a black base. And there were quite a few options, and I decided on this one because I really like the sort of scale of the print and I like the type of flowers on it. I thought it was just perfect for what I wanted. And it's really nice fabric actually. I made a version in the summer using another viscose challis from Minerva, which is a bit more floaty and a bit more sheer, but this one is more opaque. It's got a bit more sort of body to it, but it's still got a lovely drape, so I think it's perfect for a wintry skirt. So it's got the elasticated waistband, it's got the pockets. Where's one of the pockets? Here's one of the pockets. And then it's got a little ruffle on the bottom here. And it just sewed up really nicely. I'm really happy with how it turned out. In terms of sizing, I made a size 8 based on my measurements. And the only adjustment I made is to lengthen the main skirt piece by 1 inch. Just because I made the straight pattern in the summer, for a summery version I wanted that to be a little bit shorter, but I thought for this one I really wanted it to come down and meet my ankle boots, so I added that little bit of extra length. But it sewed up really nicely, and I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I'll put a picture up so you can see what it looks like on. I think it will go with quite a lot of things in my wardrobe. I can see myself putting it with sort of lightweight sort of Freya tops in cotton jersey, but also with more chunky knitted jumper too. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting a lot of wear out of this one this winter. I haven't historically been a midi skirt person, but I'm definitely coming around to them, and this is definitely my go-to pattern for midi skirt, and it's great that it's a free pattern too. So yeah, that is my wintry Sabina skirt using this lovely ditzy floral monochrome viscose challis. So I've got 2 more makes now to share, and they're both dresses, but they're quite different to each other. And the first one I've got to share is a dress I made using this pattern here, which is the Devonport dress pattern by Friday Pattern Co. So I think this is the 3rd Friday Pattern Co pattern I've shared in this video. I hadn't realised I've been sewing up so many of their patterns over the last month or 2, but yeah, this is a really nice pattern, one I've made before. It's a woven dress pattern. I'll show you the line drawings. It's got loads going on this one, but somehow all the details work really well together. So it's a woven dress pattern that's pulled in at the waist by this channel and waist tie. And then it's got a sort of blousey bodice with this interesting sort of yoke detail on the front shoulders, and then a yoke on the back with gathering at the back. It's got this sort of quite voluminous sleeve with a little ruffle at the bottom, and you can add on these little flutter shoulder details too. And then the neckline has elastic, so you don't need any ties or fastenings to this dress. The elastic just stretches so you can pull the dress over your head. Then it's got a skirt with 2 tiers because there's a ruffle to it at the bottom and these slash pockets. So lots going on, loads of gathering to sew, quite an involved make, so lots of pattern pieces too. It's in Friday Pattern Co's full size range, so it goes from an extra small up to a 7X, which I believe is the equivalent of a US 32. It's a really nice sew, and I made a wintry version last winter that I really enjoyed wearing in a fabric that's quite similar to my Sabina skirt fabric actually, a kind of black base, white floral, ditzy monochrome type viscose fabric. And I've been wanting to make another wintry version because I've really enjoyed wearing my first one. And I had some fabric that I bought off my destash account earlier this summer, and it's fabric that I'd had my eye on for ages because I hadn't bought it when I'd originally seen it out, and I kind of regretted it, which doesn't often happen, but it's such pretty fabric. So when I saw there was just under 2 meters available on this destash account, I snapped it up. And then I was thinking about sewing a winter Devonport, and I thought actually that fabric would be perfect for it. So I'd kind of been umming and ahhing over what to make with that fabric, but once I decided on the Devonport, I decided to get it cut out and sewn up straight away, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So here is my second sort of wintry Devonport dress in this really lovely, I think it's a rayon fabric, and it's got this really sort of dark sort of midnight blue base, and it's got this really cool print on. It's a bit of an unusual mix. It's got tigers and flowers, but I really love it. And I love the colours. I love the pops of this sort of bright blue, almost a cobalt blue and gold, and some pinky colours in there too. I thought it was a really pretty print. I thought it'd work really well for the Devonport dress. So yeah, this is my Devonport dress. I made the size 0, or the size extra small, I think it's called, which is, let me have a look at the measurements here. So it's designed for my bust, but it's slightly smaller on the waist and hips than me. But there's loads of ease in this dress, so I decided to go for that size on my first version, and that actually has loads of space. I think any bigger and it would have felt a bit too big on me. So yeah, I sized down the waist and hips and it's been absolutely fine. And there's loads of room in the waist. It's quite a wide waist, and then you can kind of pull it in by the drawstring at the front. So this is my version. I made the size extra small, but I did make quite a few adjustments. The first thing I do on my Devonport dresses is reduce the sleeve volume a lot. So instead of like a kind of voluminous sleeve, I've gone for more of a slimline sleeve, as you can see here. And also I changed the end, instead of having a ruffle on the cuff, to just a straight, simple, elasticated cuff like this. Just because I find, I think when I made my first original Devonport dress and I made it in the bigger sleeve just to see how it came out, it just felt like too much on me. So I much prefer a narrower sleeve with it. And then the other adjustment I made, the main other adjustment I made, is to reduce the length of the bottom ruffle by about 3 inches. Because I found, again, when I made my first version, the dress came up surprisingly long. I think it came up below the knee. And I was surprised because the picture on the front cover, oh, I've got the PDF pattern, but the paper pattern, I'll try and put a picture of the front cover, it shows the dress shorter, so I was expecting it to come up that length, but I did find it came up longer, and I'm 5'6" for reference. So anyway, I prefer it above the knee on me, so I shortened it off by 3 inches just to give it that sort of more, yeah, kind of above the knee look. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention was I managed to squeeze out of just under 2 meters of fabric. And when you look at the Devonport pattern, for a sort of 150 centimetre wide style fabric like this one was, you need 2.5 meters. And if you look at their cutting layouts, the pattern pieces are quite jam-packed in. There's not a lot of wiggle room like there is on some patterns to be able to squeeze out of a bit less fabric. So I was a bit, oh, will I be able to fit it? But I did manage to fit it by doing a few things. Firstly, having reduced the volume of the sleeves quite a lot helped, because my sleeve pattern pieces were a lot more slimline than the actual pieces from the original pattern. So that meant I could kind of get a bit of extra space there. And then what I did was, for a few of the inside pieces that you're not going to see on the outside, like the lining pieces, like the inside yoke at the back here, I used some viscose challis that I got from Minerva in like a midnight blue colour, just for those pieces, because I thought you're not going to see them, and it helped me squeeze all the main pieces out of the fabric where I needed it. So I've got them here. I've also got them on the inside of the pockets, you can see here as well. So that worked really well. And then the other thing I did was I wanted to include the sleeve flutter detail too, and I ended up just cutting those on the grain instead of the cross grain, just because they were the last thing I cut. I thought I'd cut all the pattern pieces I really need, see how much fabric I've got left, and if I can add them, I will. If I couldn't add them, then I just would leave them off. But I had just enough fabric if I cut them the opposite way, and that's absolutely fine. I guess if you had a certain print where it was really obvious they were going the wrong way, it might look a bit wrong, but this is such a busy print, I don't think you'd ever know which way the pattern's going. It really doesn't matter. So I was really happy I was able to squeeze out of my just under 2 meters. I guess I didn't really need to add the pockets, so I could have lost those pattern pieces. That would have been another option, but I did quite like the idea of including the pockets. I do find it quite handy to be able to have them, even though in the viscose fabric I don't tend to put a lot in pockets because it's quite lightweight, so I can drag them down. Just to be able to pop my phone in as I'm running down the stairs or that sort of thing would be quite handy. So this is my Devonport dress. I'll put a picture up so you can see what it looks like on. I'm really pleased with how it turned out, and I'm really glad I was able to put this fabric to good use, because I got it at the beginning of summer and I was thinking it's not really a summery fabric, so I'm really pleased to be able to have got it out for winter and turned it into a cute winter dress. So my final make that I've got to share in this video is, like I mentioned, another dress, and it's a dress I made using a new expansion pack that's now available for an old pattern that's one of my favourites, and that pattern is this one here. It is the Forsyth dress by French Navy. It's a really nice relaxed woven dress pattern that I think is a great day dress, and I've got 2 versions and I reached them loads. I'll show you the line drawing so you can see all the details of the original pattern, and then I'll share the details, the new bits that have been added to the expansion pack version. So this is the original pattern. It's got a round neck to it and this pretty panelled bodice with panelling at the front and back and a button down back to and cuffed short sleeves. Then it's got a gathered skirt and pockets in the skirt. So it's a really nice dress, and like I mentioned, it's got a relaxed fit, so it's not fitted but it's not really oversized, so I think it's the perfect kind of in between. The only downside to this pattern is at the moment the size range isn't the biggest. It goes from a size extra extra small up to a size extra large, and that takes you up to bust of 41 inches. But French Navy did mention on their Instagram account very recently that they're reviewing their size range and planning on extending the size range, and they're going to be extending on all the old patterns as well as new patterns. And I think they said they'll be doing that over the next year or so. So hopefully in the not too distant future, this pattern will be available in a larger size range too, which is really cool because it's a really lovely pattern and one I really love. So yeah, very recently French Navy released an expansion pack to turn the 4-size dress into a more wintry option, which is really cool. And when I saw it come out on Instagram, I knew instantly I wanted to make it because I love the 4-size dress and I love the idea of a wintry version, and I love the details they've added to their winter version. So here is the winter version here, and you can see the picture on the front to give a kind of idea of how the expansion pack looks, and I'll show you the line drawing so you can see all the details. So the new expansion pack version has the same panel bodice and gathered skirt and pockets, but what's been changed is the button placket's been moved from the back to the front, and then these really cute sleeves have been added on. They're described as bishop sleeves. They're kind of billowy with a bit of drape to them, and they've got little cuffs at the end too. So they're really pretty, and I thought it was a really lovely and unusual sleeve, and it's got a kind of almost high-low effect on it, so the cuffs kind of sit a little bit up on the outside to really show off that lovely detail. So I was really keen to try out this expansion pack. And then very kindly, Sarah at French Navy out of the blue emailed me and said, and just basically sent me the expansion pack for free. And she said there was no obligation to make it up or to share it or anything, but I knew I definitely wanted to make it up and straight away because I was really keen to have this expansion pack version in my wardrobe. So I was quite pleased because I had some fabric in my stash that I hadn't got any firm plans for, and I thought it would make a perfect version of this dress. So I got it out and got it cut out straight away, and I really enjoyed sewing this one up. It was a lot of fun. I love how French Navy patterns come together. I really like the finish of them and everything. So I'll show you my finished 4-size dress using the expansion pack. So here it is. I'm really happy with how it turned out. So the fabric I used is called a micro cotton Vichy fabric, and it came from Simply Fabrics. It's got this really cute sort of check fabric. It's kind of yarn dyed, so yeah, it's the same on the inside and the outside. The kind of fabrics, the blues and the whites have been woven together to create this micro check. And then I had fun with adding on some navy buttons to show the button placket off. I also added a bit of navy top stitching along the panelling to sort of stitch the seam down, and also to kind of make a real feature of that panelling, so I thought it might get lost otherwise in this kind of fabric. And then I used some bias binding from a fabric scrap I had in my stash for the neckline, because this fabric is a bit more weighty and bulky, and I thought some finer fabric would be better for the bias binding. And actually I really like that little pop of that kind of blue colour. I think it gives a really nice finish around the neckline there. And then here are the sleeves, and I love the sleeves so much. They were so much fun to sew, and I really think they're a cute detail. Nice and billowy, but with this cute little cuff at the bottom. So yeah, this is my 4-size dress, and I really enjoyed sewing, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'll show you the back too, with the gathering at the back. So in terms of sizing and adjustments on this one, I made the size extra small, so the smallest size, and I've always made that size on this dress, and it's based on my bust measurement. So my bust is size extra small, 32, but my waist and hips would put me at a size extra small. But when I looked at the finished garment measurements on my original time when I made this dress, there was quite a lot of ease around the waist and hips, and I found that making that size is absolutely fine on me, and it's still easy enough to pull over my head. The neckline's quite wide on this one, so you don't need to undo the buttons actually, although I have made functioning buttons, I can undo them. You don't actually need to get it over your head. So yeah, I just made the straight size extra small, but I did make a few adjustments. The first adjustment I made is a slight forward shoulder adjustment, just because my first version of this dress came up with a seam sitting slightly back on my shoulder, not quite across the middle. So I think I adjusted it by 1 centimetre just to bring it slightly forward, so it's sat slightly more comfortably on my shoulder. The next thing I did was I actually just pinched a little bit of the volume out of the sleeves. Although I love these voluminous sleeves, I thought the fabric I've used isn't hugely drapey, and I didn't want them to be too big and make me feel a bit uncomfortable. They're a bit too big, so I'm not a big fan of a huge sleeve on me. So I just pinched a little bit of volume out just to reduce the volume slightly, and I'm really happy with how they've turned out. I quite like the size of them now. I just basically pinched a bit out of each side of the pattern piece just to take an incy bit of volume out. So that's the second adjustment. And then the third adjustment I did was to actually just add a bit of extra width to the back pattern piece of this skirt, just to give a bit more room for my behind, because I have found on my previous versions I can feel it's a little bit snug there. Maybe I should have graded out on that front, but the front fits nice. I didn't want too much more gathering at the front because I quite like how the front sits. So I had a read online about making those adjustments, because I wasn't sure, you know, skirt pattern pieces generally come up the same width at the front and back, and I wasn't sure if there was some sort of sewing rule that you shouldn't have a wider back pattern piece than front pattern piece, but I had a look online and it seemed to be something that was okay to do. So I think I increased it by about 2 inches on either side, just to give a bit more room at the back, and then I gathered it in. And at the back also, the pattern has you gathering just between the two main back piece here, so you kind of don't gather at the sides of the panels, but I actually gathered all the way across the back because I just preferred that finish on this dress, and I thought then it would give plenty of room all the way along here. It wouldn't be too snug on the back. And yeah, it's turned out really well actually. It sits really nicely on the back now, I think. So I'm glad I did widen that back pattern piece a little bit, and luckily I had enough of this fabric for the extra room to be able to do that. So I think those are all the adjustments I made on this pattern. Otherwise I kept it as per the pattern, and I just really enjoyed sewing it, and I love how it's turned out. And I'll put a picture up of me wearing it so you can see what it looks like on. It's really nice and comfy to wear. I love the sleeves being a nice detail. I think they're really pretty. So thank you very much, French Navy, for gifting me this expansion pack. I'll link the original pattern and the expansion pack down below in case you're interested in this one. You have to buy the original pattern and then also the expansion pack, because the expansion pack doesn't include all of the original pattern pieces, and also when you work through the expansion pack instructions, it refers back to the original instructions of the original pattern as well. So I'll link both down below in case you're interested. And I think this fabric is still in stock at Simply Fabrics at the moment, or at least it was when I last looked. So I'll link it down below as well. So those are all of my makes that I've got to share in this video. I think it's ended up being quite a long video because I had quite a few makes to share, and I had quite a lot I wanted to say about a few of them. I wanted to make sure I included all the details. So I hope you've enjoyed hearing about them all. I'm not sure if I'll be quite as prolific next month. I've got half term coming up, so I'll be off with the children. I won't do as much sewing then, but we shall see. But if you've enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, then thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe and press the bell icon so you're notified of my future videos. And if you're a long-term viewer, then also thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you watching and liking and commenting. I really enjoy being part of this lovely YouTube community. Everyone's so friendly and nice. So yeah, it really does. It's a really lovely community to be part of. So thank you very much to you too. So hopefully see you again for another video soon. But in the meantime, I hope you have a lovely week. And yeah, thank you again for watching. Bye.